And of course, another concern that we have is, of course, life. I mean, people need to really be cautious over these next couple of days as we have those frigid cold temperatures already in our area. And of course, we know that some departments, including the Kent County Health Department, is taking this very seriously this morning.
Absolutely. We've been saying it all day. Stay inside if you can. But of course, there are people who just simply have to get outside, whether it's for work or other important things that you have happening this weekend. We've got Dr. Kristen Oldenburg live with us now to give us some more specific details on those who are having to be outside and what you have to do to make that happen safely. Dr. Oldenburg, thank you so much for being here live with us this morning.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you here. We need this information as people kick off their weekend. Let's just start with, if you are having to go outside, what are the safe articles of clothing that you need to have on in order to keep yourself safe and avoid frostbite and hypothermia?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's really important to dress in layers. So making sure that you have warm layers that are loose and trap that warm air inside next to your body. That really helps preserve your body heat. So it's important to stay dry. So waterproof outer layers are important, like a waterproof coat, waterproof mittens or gloves, and waterproof boots. It's really important to stay dry. And then making sure you're covering smaller parts like your fingers, your nose, your ears. Those things are more susceptible to getting frostbite. So making sure you have a hat on, scarf around your face to protect those parts that are at risk of frostbite.
Yeah, Dr. Oldenburg, I'm curious as to who is most at risk during this extreme cold. Are we talking younger people, maybe some of our senior citizens? Who would you say is most at risk right now?
Yes, exactly. Yep. Younger people, they have smaller bodies and they lose their body heat more quickly. They aren't able to hold on to that as well. And as well as our older adults are also more susceptible. And another group that we think about are people that stay outside for a long time, whether it's by choice or because they don't have a safe, warm shelter easily available. Those people are at higher risk.
Now, again, we mentioned that there are some people who just can't stay home. I think we'd all like to be at home,
right,
bundled up right now on the couch or in our beds if we could. But for those who are having to get outside, like we mentioned, whether it's for work, we have someone here at our station who's having to move this weekend. What would you recommend to them who, again, they've got to still make this happen? I'm sure it'd be really hard to rearrange all of those things at this point. So what tips would you give them, like I said, with that move, if you're having to go outside, just how long is too long? How should you pace yourself with having to get that done and having to be in and outside?
Right. So that's a great question. So just like we said, make sure you're dressing for the weather, keeping all of your body heat in as much as possible and protecting all of your exposed skin. But if you have to go outside and you do that, it's really important to not stay outside very long. So depending on how cold it is, I've heard that there may be wind chills as low as -30 this weekend. And if it's that cold, then you shouldn't be out for more than 15 or 20 minutes at a time, which means that maybe you do your outside work for 20 minutes and then you come inside and you warm back up before you can go back outside and do that again. It's also important to avoid the coldest times of the day. So the early mornings or after dark tend to be colder. So if you can concentrate your activity into the warmer part of the very cold day, you will have a little less risk.
So I want to talk a little bit about heating our homes, because when it comes to this, there are some things to do and things to not do. Can you kind of give us some tips on what to keep in mind when we're heating our homes over these next couple of days?
Well, it's important to use approved heat methods and make sure that you have a carbon monoxide detector that is working in your home, because it is possible to have other sources of combustion build up with carbon monoxide in your home. And any sort of space heater, make sure that that's away from anything that's flammable. So your curtains or your furniture, things like that.
And also, doctor, what about if you are outside? I mean, even in that graphic that we just put up there, maybe you didn't see it, but it was tips to avoid hypothermia, frostbite, as we've said. We talk about not having any wet clothing as well, but
Yeah.
I think about how this snow is blowing around. If you happen to be outside, perhaps your clothing could get wet. At what point are you in trouble with that? And what should you do, again, if you're having to be outside and you run into that issue?
Right. So as soon as you notice that your clothing is wet, so if you get snow like inside your boot or under your coat, something that is wet against your skin is going to draw away your heat more quickly. So as soon as you notice that, it's important to get inside. Get inside, take those wet articles of clothing off, and get dry and warm as quickly as you can.
What are some other things you guys are worried about at the Kent County Health Department? Of course, you guys have talked about, what to wear. You've talked about heating your home safely, having that carbon monoxide, wet clothing, all of that. What else are you guys concerned over the next couple of days?
We just want everyone to stay safe and warm, and be aware that if you make all these plans to stay inside, wear good clothes, get inside at appropriate times, but you can still get hypothermia or frostbite. So recognizing the signs of those is important. So with hypothermia, you might notice shivering, confusion, tiredness. If you start to experience anything like that, it's really important to seek medical care. With frostbite, you might notice first redness, numbness, tingling. Your skin can get pale and waxy feeling. Again, if you start to notice anything like that, it's really important to seek medical attention to get treatment for those conditions.
In the, when we're dealing with hypothermia and frostbite, can you kind of explain how quickly those can set in temperatures that we're about to see?
Right. So what happens with hypothermia is that your body starts to lose heat more quickly than your body can make heat. And so the colder it is, the more quickly that happens. So you lose heat to that cold air. And so as we talk about trapping that warm air in your coat. So it depends on what you're wearing and how cold it is and whether you're wet. All of those factors can come into play. But those time frames that we're giving you, so that, that 20 minutes, or if it gets a little warmer, it could be up to 30 minutes. Those time frames are to keep you on the safe side of how long it may take you to lose that body heat. But again, when you throw in wetness, that changes it. So when you're wet, you lose your body heat more quickly. So that's part of the reason it's important to get in and get dry.
Really great tips, Dr. Oldenburg. We're just about out of time, but I did have just one more question for you. Initially, you talked about some of the ways to dress properly. You mentioned waterproof clothing, if you can. Any other specific details on the types of things you should have on? Ski mask, for example. What are the things specifically that people should be looking for to wear if they've got to be out in these dangerous temperatures?
Right. Yep. So we talked about waterproof gear around your midsection, keep that warm air in. A hat is really good. That keeps a lot of your body heat in that you're going to lose through your head. But as far as all the other accessories, just think about all of the little parts that are more susceptible to freezing. So things like your nose, your cheeks, your chin, your ears, your fingers, your toes, making sure that those parts are all covered and staying warm and dry is really important. So like you mentioned, a ski mask, that's great, or a scarf, something that's going to cover all of this part is going to be really important.
All right. Well, Dr. Oldenburg with the Kent County Health Department, we appreciate your time and tips to help keep the community informed and safe over these next couple of days. We wish that you stay warm and are able to get out of the cold this weekend as well.
Thank you.